Located in Microfilm Reel B5053 is a miscellaneous folder covering Allied encounters with German rocket and jet-propelled aircraft, collected in order to develop tactics to counter these threatening aircraft types. Among those collected are 2 accounts from crews flying unarmed photo-reconnaissance Mosquito variants, including the very first ever air-to-air engagement between an Allied aircraft and a German jet on July 27, 1944. In both cases, skillful flying by the Mosquito pilots allowed for the unarmed aircraft to survive the encounter and return to base to give the accounts that I will now read. At 1930 hours, flying at 29,000 feet, 5 miles south of Munich on course 040 degrees, Observer had just come up from the nose after completing photography when he saw a twin-engine enemy aircraft 400 yards astern closing very rapidly. Pilot opened to full revs and boost, but enemy aircraft closed and went above on starboard side, dropping port wing to have a look at our aircraft. It then turned to port, so pilot turned hard to starboard on southerly course. 1 minute later, observers saw enemy aircraft approximately 2,000 yards astern again closing fast. When enemy aircraft had closed to 800 yards opening fire, pilot started gentle turn to port to commit enemy aircraft to attack, and then tightened the turn until enemy aircraft was 300 yards away, when pilot whipped aircraft into steep turn. Our aircraft managed to turn inside enemy aircraft until our aircraft was almost on his tail, and then pilot broke away to south. This maneuver was repeated 3 times, enemy aircraft opening fire on each occasion. Enemy aircraft then lay off at 800 yards, went into shallow dive, and came up to attack from underneath. Pilot whipped hard over to port, and 2 thuds were heard from bottom of cockpit. These were later found to have been caused by the outer door having snapped off and probably hitting the tailplane. By this time, Mosquito was over Austrian Tyrol, with cumulus up to 16,000 feet, and enemy aircraft was above and behind approximately 1,500 yards. Pilot decided to go into steep dive into cumulus. Enemy aircraft did not seem to be closing as fast during this dive. When our aircraft came out of cumulus, enemy aircraft was 800 yards behind and pilot saw a long line of cumulus stretching to south. Pilot got into this cumulus when enemy aircraft was 400 yards behind and came out after 3 to 4 minutes. Enemy aircraft had disappeared. Cannon fire from enemy aircraft appeared to come from the nose and was occasionally tracer. Enemy aircraft appeared to be at least 100 miles per hour faster than our aircraft. The following account is related by Flight Lieutenant King, 540 Squadron, landed at San Servo on sortie 106G/2256 on August 15th, 1944, which he obtained from the pilot of the aircraft concerned. On Tuesday 15th, August 1944, Lieutenant or Captain Pinar of 60 Squadron, South African Air Force Mosquito, was airborne from San Servo for photo reconnaissance of targets in Munich area, including Lechfeld Airfield. On approaching this target at 30,000 feet, both pilot and navigator had a good look around, and there was apparently nothing in the neighborhood. Navigator switched on cameras and looked behind once more, then found ME262 in firing position behind and in range. The enemy aircraft immediately opened fire, shooting away 1 elevator, 1 aileron, and the throttle controls, leaving throttles fully open. The Mosquito went into a spin, and the pilot managed to pull out at 19,000 feet, and on coming out found the enemy aircraft already down to that height and waiting to make further attack. The Mosquito could only turn one way, which it proceeded to do in order to avoid the ensuing attack. The enemy aircraft made several attacks, from astern, from ahead, from above, and from all quarters, but by maintaining a steep turn, the Mosquito managed to avoid any further strikes. These attacks went on for 40 minutes, by which time Mosquito had lost height to 9,000 feet. Eventually, Mosquito pilot got so desperate that when enemy aircraft made a further head-on attack, he attempted to ram enemy aircraft. The enemy aircraft opened fire and broke away first, whereupon the Mosquito went into a shallow dive and into cumulus clouds over the Alps. During the 40 minutes which the attack lasted, Mosquito aircraft only traveled 18 miles from the point at which it was first intercepted. Opinions and observations of the pilot. 1. That he could without difficulty outturn the enemy aircraft and so avoid strikes. 2. That had he been armed, he could have shot down the enemy aircraft since on many occasions it overshot when approaching from astern. 3. Estimation of speed of enemy aircraft, 600 miles per hour. Mosquito attained 420 indicated airspeed when pulled out at spin at 90,000 feet. The enemy aircraft appeared to close on Mosquito at approximately 100 to 150 miles per hour. 4. The enemy aircraft fired short bursts, about 4 at a time, and appeared to be firing slowly. 5. Damage showed cannon to have been used. 6. Appearance of enemy aircraft. 1. Twin jets. Jets in normal position of twin-engine enemy aircraft. 2. Silver finish, no camouflage. 3. Markings. Large black cross on underside of enemy aircraft. One arm extending from wingtip to wingtip. Other arm from nose to tail. On sides, normal black cross. On tail, swastika. 7. Pilot only once saw smoke from jet units. These accounts, along with others from August 1944, proved critical in allowing the Allied air forces to judge the strengths and weaknesses of the ME262, and in devising the first series of anti-jet tactics they would use to counter the growing German jet menace. When in 1945 the Luftwaffe was able to unleash dozens of jet fighters against Allied bombers for the first time, Allied fighter escorts would be ready to counter the threat, and to ruthlessly punish any Luftwaffe jet pilot who failed to fly the ME262 to its strengths.